and today we're talking about 10 things to do before you die. As much as that would love to be a bucket list of things like jump out of an aeroplane or, I don't know, dye your hair a crazy colour, whatever. This is actually 10 things to do that help other people when you die. I found, especially when I'm doing expected deaths, so that's when someone's been diagnosed and they know it's coming, which in one way is an advantage because they know they need to get their house in order. Whereas us that sort of mosey along thinking we're going to live forever, when we drop dead, then we've stitched up all our loved ones because we haven't got prepared. So people really don't want to be a burden on others, and people don't want to worry others, and then if it's on the other foot and you might be the person that then has to deal with the funeral, you don't want to have to bring up awkward questions at a time where it's really, really needed, but then seems really inappropriate. So I've made a list of 10 things. I pinched a lot of it from my dad, who is a solicitor. He's a family lawyer. So he specialises in all this, actually. So I know it's pretty sound. I know it's right. I know I'm not talking rubbish. So you'll need a pen and paper because it's a list. I'll go over it briefly, and then you've got a starting point to do your own research and get your own house in order. Of course, I'm not practicing what I preach. I haven't done this. I must. I'm in it. I see the mess when people haven't done it. I see the heartache that it gives people when they haven't done it. I see the worry. I see the, oh God, why haven't I done it? If I get hit by a car tomorrow, I know I've stitched my husband up. So anyway, oh, hello, Italian dream lady. I'm not talking weddings today. I'm talking 10 things to do before you die. But especially, actually, if you don't have family close by. So, pen and paper ready, because these are 10 things you need to do to help your loved ones for when you die, so that they're not at a loss, they're not stitched up, and they don't know where to begin. So, firstly, above everything, do a will. A lot of people go, I don't really need a will, it's fine. You do need a will. You do need a will. All the mess, all the arguments, all the family politics come horribly out the woodwork if you don't have a will. Loads of things go unclaimed. Lots of things get missed. There is potentials for arguments left, right and centre. So do a will. When you're doing your will, you need to think about who you want the executor to be and who you want the guardians of your children to be if you have children. Now, that's not the same as godparents. Godparents are there to spiritually guide your children. Quite often people will choose the godparents to be the guardian, and quite often, really often, people assume it's the same thing. What's awkward is if the parents have died, the godparents step in, assuming they're guardians, and then Aunt Flo, who they've met twice, is actually the guardian on the will, and nobody knew. So, because at the time the mum thought it'd be safe to have her sister, was actually her sister's moved to Australia. You know, like whatever. Have a will. Think about your guardians if you've got kids, and think about who your executor is. And then once you've done that, ask them, invite them to be, and say, we'd be really honoured if we can entrust you with our estate, or we'd be really honoured if you can make sure our kids are okay. Being a guardian doesn't mean you're the stepmother, you know, you're the one that they have to come and live with. It's not that you have to take care of them personally yourself, but it does mean you're responsible for making sure they are taken care of any which way seems fit. Okay, there's loads more to that. I could go into detail, but I don't need to. It's not the point. The point is do a will, get an executor, get a guardian if you've got kids, and tell them or ask them and let them know. First, if you do nothing else, do that. I need to do that. I've done it years ago, just never actually posted it to my dad, which is ridiculous. Anyway, secondly, your national insurance number. You need to know it. You need to tell someone else. You need to put it in your will that that's your national insurance number. Without your national insurance number, the whole thing comes to a grinding halt, really. So, there's another 8 things to go, but they are the 2 main ones, and they are absolutely an analog solution to a digital problem. Okay, if everything is done online and you've got emails to so-and-so and you've got, hi Serenity Skincare, if you've got everything online and everything in emails and documents on your laptop and, I don't know, something awful. Serenity, you just joined in. It sounds really depressing, but I'm talking about 10 things to do before you die. And your, I don't know, you've died in a house fire and your computer is in the house fire. Where do you start? So you need an analog solution to your digital problem. Your digital problem is that all your bits and pieces, your life, is on a mobile or it's on your laptop. And when you're gone, especially if it's face recognition or it's fingerprint, how are they going to access anything? You've got to write it down. You need to write it down in a safe place because obviously if you get burgled, they go, oh look, here's all the useful information. So by putting it in a safe place, like a safe, is something you need to do. Now, that was part of I've got arrows and stars because obviously there's loads on this list, that says keep your important stuff together but tell somebody and give them a key or give them the combination and give them the location of the safe. Right, my dad's a solicitor. He had the will of the client and the client has said in his will, all my paperwork, all my information, these 10 things are all in my safe. Happy days. He didn't tell my dad where the safe was. He didn't tell the executor where the safe was. And he didn't tell them what the combination was. So eventually they found the safe and they were just both staring at it going, how do we get in? So eventually they had to call a locksmith and get into it that way. But it just tell somebody, give them a key and tell them where the key is. So analog solution to a digital problem, write it all down, put it in a safe, tell somebody where the safe is and how to get into it. But obviously make sure that somebody is somebody you really, really trust. Hi, Anu. Oh, why did I call you Anu? It's because I just read it. Hi, gorgeous. And Justine, I've got celebrants on. So that's the absolute top two with the note of keeping it safe and telling somebody where that safe is with the combination and the key. So write your will with your national insurance number. Right. Third thing on my list is you'll need to register the death. Oh no, Justine, hi. You'll need to register the death. That is walking down to the registry office and doing that. Obviously it's quite tricky at the moment with COVID. You know, is where they die is the place where they live? Is that their local? Are they on that register? You know, that's a whole nother situation. But for your list, number 3 is register the death. Number 4 is do my form. That's a really rubbish order. Okay, I see what I've done there. I'm switching between you being the dead person and you being the person looking after the dead person. So take it with a pinch of salt. Anyway, you just remember what day it is. It's Wednesday! I have no idea the date, but it's Wednesday. So yes, if you need to register the death for somebody else, register the death. But the whole point of my 10 things before you die is that you're not registering your own death. Unlike a wedding, you can register your marriage before your wedding. You can't register your death before your last breath. So you don't need to put register my death on your list. But you know, a death needs to be registered. But you need to do my form. Because doing my form will give you and will give your family a lot less worry, a lot less uncertainty, because in the form you will be telling them whether you want to be buried or cremated, what kind of vibe you want, your story. Like, people might have known you for so long, but they've only known you since they started knowing you. They might not know you from your 20s, or they might not know you from your 50s. Or they might have only met you a month ago and just really hit it off, and you've suddenly become best buddies. You know? So do my form, and then once you've done my form, print it off twice, because remember, the key to everything is an analogue solution to a digital problem. Print it off. Put it with your will, which is with your solicitor, and in your filing cabinet at home. So have 2 copies there and there. Where are we? Let's pretend you're not dead and you're not registering your own death. Once you've not registered your own death, we are on number 5. Where's number 5? Organise a funeral. Good. Which you can do because you've got the form from your friend who's done the form, and it says all the things that you need to do. So you can organise the funeral. To organise a funeral, you might need access to their money and access to the estate. If you've got the will and you've got the executor's permission, all the information is there. Now, what is all that information? All that information are my points 6, 7 and 8, which is computer passwords, accounts and insurance. So your computer passwords, how do you get in? Has it got some backup? Is there a hard drive? Is it synced up to the phone? If the phone is face recognition or finger shenanigans, you know, where's the backup? Is that necessary? Where is the laptop? If the laptop's in the safe and you don't have the safe key, how are you going to do that? To tell somebody again where your safe is and the combination. And your laptop charger, because that's a pain. You've gone through all of this, you've had the trauma of somebody dying, you're like, okay, I'm doing it. If you find the laptop and it's dead as a dodo, so then you've got to ransack their house trying to find where you keep the charger. So it's all those little things. 6, 7, 8, computer passwords, which will then probably give you an access to accounts. Accounts for your bank, for your savings, for your investments, for anything else that you might need if you are the executor, to make sure that things are tidied up and done properly, and you can organise the funeral properly and pay for it correctly and fulfil your mate's wishes or your loved one's wishes. So 6, 7, 8, computer password, accounts, numbers for for all your investments and your passwords, banks, savings, investments, etc. 8, insurance. Now this one, a lot of people assume there is a central governing body, a bit like the post office. You can do this form that says I've moved house, and for the next 6 months all your post goes to the new house. There is not a central body in England, I don't know about Ireland or Scotland, but there is definitely not in England where you can register. Just by registering the death doesn't mean everything else across the land is sorted. There isn't one. So there is no central index. There is a scheme, and it's called Tell Us Once. Tell Us Once. So Google it, Tell Us Once. It's private, but it will do things once you've registered the death, like inform the bank and the council, the national insurance and tax. So it's those 4 things: bank, insurance, council and tax. But just be aware, it's private. You're giving that information to a business, not a government body. And it's not your information, it's somebody else's. So just be a little bit mindful of that. Yes, it's efficient. Yes, it means that 4 things are ticked off the list. But it's not your information to tell. I'm just a bit wary of that one. So, number 8 is the insurance. Lots of people never claim their policy, so their life insurance policy, because people don't know where the paperwork is. So there is millions sitting in insurances. I mean, there's all these shows like the Air Hunter and all that, because people haven't claimed. And they're trying to find these next again. And it's all because they didn't do those first 2 things. So those of you that came on late, the first 2 things which of the 10 things to do before you die, the key, analog solution to a digital problem, write it down, put it in a safe, tell somebody your safe combo or where the safe key is, otherwise the whole thing's a waste anyway. But put your insurance details there, because then you've got life insurance and it can pay out, or health insurance that hopefully you'd have used if you were poorly, and there's no point in having a health insurance package that you've never used and you were poorly and you could have used it. So just make sure your paperwork is working for you. It's paperwork, it's not paper standby on the sidelines, let life happen around you. It's got a job to do, it's work. Make it earn its money. So have a look at the insurance, such as health, home and life. The only insurance company that make any effort at all, again, because the assumption is everyone's quite well behaved and diligent and wants the best for their clients. There is all business. If you've got a life insurance policy and you haven't claimed it, or your next of kin or your loved one hasn't claimed it, they're not going to tap on your door and say, oh, by the way, we hear you've died. Here's £35,000. They're not going to. Unless you knock on that door to claim that money, they have it. The only company so far that make any effort is the Pru. So if you haven't got health insurance or life insurance or home insurance, whatever, the only company that have behaviourally, so their intentions or their promises or their paperwork, whatever, all that's lip service. The only company that seems to act on it is the Pru. So I better go and check mine's actually with the Pru. So that's insurance. That's number 8. Number 9, funeral prepay packages. Now, this is, any one of you that are lawyers or know lawyers or are mates with solicitors, whatever, they all know this is a little bit of a non-starter. It started off as a really good idea. Like anything, it was there for the point of need. Like the NHS, it's there at the point of need. And then people get kind of like, well, I expect. It's like, well, no, it's not just because you fancy it, it's at the point of need. So a funeral prepay package is designed for that at point of need. So it's really good, but it's only good if you tell somebody that you have one. Because if you don't, and you haven't done your paperwork and you haven't put it somewhere safe and you haven't told them where the safe is, they spend all that money and you can't claim it back with hindsight. You can't go, oh, look, he's 3 foot under. But actually, it turns out he'd already paid for it. Can I have my money back? No. The paperwork's there. Make it work. But what's good about the prepay, but what is the only good thing about the prepay, is that if you have no family or you don't know how much money you won't have when you die. So if you don't want to leave the family in debt because funeral costs are a little bit nuts, or if you don't know that actually you're not going to be the richest corpse in the graveyard, who is? I mean, have a great life. Be the pauper. Who cares? You've got a great story to tell and I love telling it for you. I won't care that you're a millionaire 3 foot under and no one else will. A funeral prepay is brilliant if you have no family or you're not sure how much money you're not going to have when you die. But if you have got a prepay, number 9 is tell somebody. Number 10, list of people to be notified of your funeral or invited to your funeral or of your death. Now this is really interesting because, again, when I'm doing expected deaths, my client, who's the person that's going to die, comes with their little address book and she goes through it and she's like, oh, I went to school with Jackie, she's lovely, and da-da-da-da. And when she does die, oh my God, it's so hard for a celebrant because I now feel like I'm burying a friend because I've known her whole life story because she's told it to me. I've met the family, we've gone through the address book, she's told me how she knows all her best mates. I've then got to ring the best mates and go, she asked me to ask you if you do a testimonial, and they're like, oh God. So that's a really interesting one. But again, it comes back to my opening line. We need an analog solution for our digital problems. You need a physical address book. Because if you haven't done your computer passwords, you haven't done your paperwork, you haven't put it in a safe and told the people where the safe is or the safe key, then they can't get your address book because they can't get online to your computer or your phone, which is face recognition or a finger. Again, write it down, make the paperwork work. So again, something I need to do. I started doing it last year and I was really pleased with myself that I was going to get some Christmas cards out and they were going to have addresses on and I had all the stamps and I was like, yeah! And then I got to about L. So I will do my address book this year at some point, but in time for Christmas. Because I'm not expecting to die anytime soon. So the list of the people to be notified or to be invited to your funeral or your loved one's funeral. Now, that's 10. Let me know if you need me to run through them really quickly. I'll put some links onto my Facebook page. I'm really rubbish at my website at the moment, but I'm doing a new one. A new website is on its way. I don't know, in about a month. I don't know how long these things take once the ball gets rolling. So I can't put it on my website, but message me. I'll try and do something technical. But those 10 things, 2 bonus things. Now, the law changed just now. Spring 2020, the law changed about organ donation. In England, again, I don't know about the rest of Great Britain, but in England, as of spring 2020, it is no longer an opt-in to organ donation, it is an opt-out to organ donation. If you are not over 80, and if you are not in a category that is not assumed that you're okay to donate, then the assumption is you're donating. If you don't want to do that, you need to put it in your will, which you need to write down and put in a safe. La 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 la. Yes? You also need to let your next of kin know. This is particularly important for my couples this year who haven't got married because of COVID. At the moment, you're still just a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You're not next of kin. If they die and you don't want them to be donated, even though it is the best legacy, like their heart's gone on to give more love to somebody else, you know, their eyes are giving freedom. I mean, can you imagine giving someone sight? That's incredible. But if that's not for you and you really can't bear the thought of that happening to your loved one, but you're not legally their next of kin, tough. The family, the next of kin, do have a say. And if it's in their will, then that's what will happen. But as of spring 2020, it's opt out if you don't want to be a donor. So that's an extra bonus fact that you need to take into account. The second one is pets. I said right at the beginning to do your will, and before you even finish doing your will, you need to get an executor and a guardian for your kids if you have kids. If you don't have kids but you have pets, what's your plan for them? Do you want the cat to die of starvation or the dog to have just died of a broken heart? What's your plan for the pets? Have you got one? Have you got someone who's going to take them on? You know, even if it's just a flippant conversation with a mate over coffee, like, if I ever just dropped down dead, you'd make sure you look after the dog, won't you? And they go, yeah, sure. But seriously, ask somebody. So, there we go. There are my 12 things, to give you 2 bonus things. 10 things to do before you die that will lighten the load, take the burden off, take all the angst, stress and worry off of your family. Okay? Massively important if that's important to you. If it's not important to you, get a funeral plan. Because a funeral plan's really good if you haven't got family or you haven't got any money by the time that you die. So, do that. Helpful? Any questions? We're still on Wednesday. I know it's like, oh God, look at my hair, lockdown hair. I need to get a thumbs up. Thanks very much. Let me just scroll. It's a cracking headache, sorry. Just got waves, smiley faces and tears. Ooh, hope the tears aren't because I've said something bad. So there we go. Hope that was helpful. Ping me some messages, send me some love, do hashtag replay if you're watching it on replay. But the 10 things to do before you die to make it easier for your loved ones at the time where it's going to be hell, do the things I just said. Analog solution to a digital problem, put it in a safe, tell somebody where the safe is and the key or the combo. But fill out your things. All right, lots of love. Bye for now.